Something just changed in Washington, and if you're collecting Social Security right now, this directly puts more money in your pocket. Congress has officially passed legislation that could add up to $20,600 more per month to your Social Security check, and the payments are scheduled to begin as early as May 2026. This isn't a rumor making the rounds on Facebook. This isn't clickbait. This is a real signed piece of legislation that millions of Americans who spent decades paying into this system have been fighting for. For years, seniors across this country watched their fixed income get swallowed by rising grocery bills, skyrocketing prescription costs, and rent that never seems to stop climbing. Washington finally heard you. But here's what most people are getting wrong. Not every senior qualifies automatically, and if you don't know the exact steps to confirm your eligibility and update your information with the Social Security Administration, you could miss out entirely. Stay with me, because the next few minutes could be worth thousands of dollars to you and your family. So let me start from the very beginning, because I want to make sure you have the complete picture. Not just the headline, but the real story behind what just happened in Washington and what it actually means for your wallet starting May 2026. A lot of people are hearing bits and pieces of this news, and frankly, a lot of what's being shared online is either incomplete or just flat out wrong. So let's slow down, take a breath, and walk through this together the right way. For decades, and I mean going back as far as the 1980s, there has been a law on the books that has quietly been stealing money from millions of retired Americans. It was called the Windfall Elimination Provision, also known as the WEP, and its close companion, the Government Pension Offset, known as the GPO. These two provisions were buried deep inside Social Security law, and most Americans had absolutely no idea they even existed until the day they retired and suddenly discovered that their Social Security benefit was being slashed. Teachers, firefighters, police officers, federal workers, postal employees, people who gave their entire careers to public service were being penalized simply because they also received a government pension. Some retirees lost hundreds of dollars every single month because of these two provisions. Others lost their spousal benefits entirely. And for years, they fought back. They called their representatives. They signed petitions. They showed up at town halls. And for years, Washington did nothing. But that finally changed. Earlier this year, Congress passed the Social Security Fairness Act, and it was signed into law. This is not a proposal. This is not something still sitting in a committee somewhere. This is done. It is law. And what it does is absolutely significant for anyone who was affected by the WEP or the GPO. It fully repeals both of those provisions, which means millions of Americans who were having their benefits unfairly reduced are now entitled to receive their full Social Security payments, the payments they actually earned and paid into over a lifetime of hard work. Now, here is where the $20,600 number comes in, and I want to explain this clearly so there is no confusion. The $2,600 figure represents the potential monthly increase that some beneficiaries could see once the repeal of these provisions takes full effect. For certain retirees, particularly those who were hit hardest by the WEP and GPO, the monthly difference between what they were receiving and what they are now legally entitled to receive can be significant. Some people will see smaller increases. Others, depending on their specific situation, their work history, and how severely they were affected by those old provisions, could see increases that reach or even exceed that $20,600 range. But even if your increase is smaller than that, this is still real money being returned to you. Money that should have been yours all along. And here is something that not enough people are talking about: back pay. Because the Social Security Administration is not just going to increase your monthly payment going forward and call it even. For those who qualify, there is also the matter of retroactive payments. This means the SSA is working to calculate what you should have been paid going all the way back to when the law took effect, and you may be owed a lump sum payment to cover that difference. Now, the SSA is a large agency dealing with tens of millions of beneficiaries, and this process takes time. That is exactly why the May 2026 timeline has been referenced in connection with when many recipients can realistically expect to see these changes fully reflected in their payments. The agency is working through the adjustments, and if you are owed back pay, that amount will be calculated and delivered. But you need to make sure your information with the SSA is current and accurate, which I will talk more about in just a moment. Now, I want to take a second and address the people watching this who might be thinking, this doesn't apply to me because I never worked in public service. And I completely understand why you might feel that way. But before you move on, I want you to think about your spouse. I want you to think about a family member who may have spent their career as a teacher, a firefighter, a state employee, or a federal worker, because the government pension offset specifically affected spousal and survivor benefits. That means if you are a widow or a widower, or if you are currently receiving a spousal benefit and your spouse had a government pension, your benefit may have been affected too, even if you personally never worked in public service. This law could mean more money for you as well. So please share this video with the people in your life, because there are families all across this country who do not even realize they have been shortchanged for years. Let's also talk about what happens next from a practical standpoint, because understanding the process is just as important as understanding the law itself. The Social Security Administration has been preparing for this change, and they have been issuing updates to their website and sending notices to affected beneficiaries. However, and this is critically important, the SSA is dealing with an enormous volume of cases. Millions of people are impacted by this change, and the agency is working through them systematically. This means that not everyone will see their adjusted payment on the exact same day. The rollout is happening in waves, and the May 2026 date represents the window during which the majority of affected beneficiaries should see their updated payment amounts begin. What you need to do right now, today, not tomorrow, is log into your My Social Security account at ssa.gov and verify that all of your personal information is correct and up to date. Your mailing address, your direct deposit banking information, your phone number, all of it needs to be accurate. Because here's the reality. If the SSA sends you a notice about your updated benefit and it goes to an old address, you may miss a critical deadline to confirm your information. If your bank account on file is outdated or closed, your payment could be delayed. These are not things you want to find out the hard way. Take 15 minutes today and log in. If you have never set up a My Social Security account online, you can do it directly at ssa.gov, and it is completely free. If you are not comfortable doing it online, you can call the Social Security Administration at 1-800-772-1213 and speak with a representative who can verify your information over the phone, or schedule an in-person appointment at your local SSA office. Now, let's talk about something else that is happening simultaneously, because there is more good news layered into the current Social Security landscape that you deserve to know about. Even separate from the Social Security Fairness Act, beneficiaries received a cost of living adjustment, what most people call the COLA, at the beginning of this year. That adjustment added to what recipients are receiving, and when you stack that increase on top of the benefit restoration that is coming through the Fairness Act repeal, some households are looking at a very meaningful improvement in their monthly income. For retirees living on a fixed income, this is not just numbers on paper. This is the difference between being able to afford your medication without skipping doses. This is the difference between keeping the heat on in January. This is the difference between having enough left at the end of the month to put a little something aside or treat your grandchildren to something special. This matters in real daily life. I also want to spend a moment talking about what to watch out for, because unfortunately, whenever there is big news like this, the scammers come out of the woodwork. Within days of this legislation passing, reports started coming in from seniors across the country who were getting phone calls from people claiming to be from the Social Security Administration, telling them they needed to verify their information or pay a processing fee to receive their increased benefit. Let me be absolutely crystal clear. The Social Security Administration will never call you and ask for your bank account number over the phone. They will never ask you to pay a fee to receive your benefits. They will never ask for your Social Security number over the phone, because they already have it. If you receive a call like this, hang up. Do not give them anything. Do not engage. Call the real SSA directly at 1-800-772-1213 to report what happened and to verify whether any legitimate action is actually needed on your account. Scammers are counting on the excitement and confusion around this news to catch people off guard. Don't let them. Let's circle back for a moment to the people who were most directly impacted by the windfall elimination provision, because I want to make sure those individuals truly understand the magnitude of what just happened for them. If you are a retired teacher from a state that did not pay into Social Security, places like California, Texas, Ohio, Illinois, Louisiana, Massachusetts, and others, you have been living under a penalty for years that was simply unfair. You worked, you paid into your state pension system, and then when you became eligible for Social Security benefits based on other work you did in your life, the WEP came in and reduced what you were entitled to receive. Teachers who worked summers, evenings, or weekends in Social Security covered jobs for years still had their benefits cut. That is now over. The repeal means your Social Security benefit will be recalculated based on your actual earnings record, the way it always should have been. And for the surviving spouses, the widows and widowers, who lost a significant portion of their survivor benefits because of the government pension offset, I want you to hear this directly. That offset is gone. You are entitled to your full survivor benefit. That means if you have been receiving a reduced check every month while managing grief, managing a household alone, managing everything on a fraction of what you should have been getting, that is changing. The SSA will recalculate your survivor benefit, and you will begin receiving the correct amount. If back pay is owed to you, that will be calculated as well. Please make sure your information with the SSA is up to date and do not hesitate to call them and specifically ask about how the Social Security Fairness Act repeal affects your survivor benefit. There is one more thing I want to address before we wrap up the details here, and that is the question of taxes. Some of you are wondering, and rightfully so, whether this increase in Social Security income is going to push you into a higher tax bracket or cause your Medicare premiums to go up through what is called IRMA, the Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. These are legitimate concerns, and I am not going to brush them aside. The honest answer is that for some beneficiaries, a significant increase in Social Security income could have tax implications depending on your total household income. I strongly recommend that you speak with a tax professional or a certified financial planner who has experience working with Social Security beneficiaries. Many community organizations and area agencies on aging offer free financial counseling to seniors. The SHIP program, which stands for State Health Insurance Assistance Program, also has counselors available in every state who can help you understand how changes to your benefit might affect your overall financial picture. Taking an hour to sit down with someone who knows this landscape can save you from a surprise at tax time. Here's the bottom line, and I want you to carry this with you when you leave this video today. Millions of Americans who dedicated their lives to this country, who taught children, protected communities, delivered mail, and served in government, were quietly penalized for years by laws that most people did not even know existed. That injustice has now been corrected. The Social Security Fairness Act is real, it is law, and it is going to put more money back into the hands of the people who earned it. If you or someone you love was affected by the WEP or the GPO, now is the time to act. Update your information with the SSA, stay alert to scammers, consult a professional about any tax questions, and keep checking back for updates as the May 2026 payment adjustments roll out. You worked your whole life for this. Make sure you get every single dollar you deserve.